I'm Philip Daniels.
I'm Joe Cardoza.
I'm Larry Bisagni.
And this is The Perspective.
And this is The Perspective.
Welcome to The Perspective.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to The Perspective. We're into week 4. We're through the first quarter of the season, and there's no easy way to get into what our top subject is going to be today. It's a very serious one. I think a lot of people witnessed what happened with Tua Tagovailoa this past Thursday in the Miami Dolphins game. And again, Philip, you being a former player and also having two sons that play at the collegiate level, I'd like to turn it over to you and I'd like to have you introduce somebody.
Okay, guys. This young man I'm about to introduce to you is near and dear to my heart. I love this dude so much. His accomplishments and what he's been through and where he's going. He's battled through a lot. He's one of the best young talents in the Canadian League. And I'm privileged to have tonight on the show my very own son, DeVaris Daniels. Welcome to the show, man. What's up?
Appreciate y'all.
Get him on here. What's up?
There we go. What's up? I appreciate y'all having me, man.
Sure.
This is
it's
great.
Good to have you. And I want to ask for everybody right off the top. I do want to be very sensitive to your health and what you want to share, what you're willing to share from a medical perspective. So is it okay if we do have some of these uneasy conversations with you and ask you some questions about concussions and concussion protocols?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's not only good for people to hear about, but just to get that information out there and have everybody have like an open conversation about it, I think is important. So yeah, we could definitely dive into that a bit and see where it goes.
Now, DeVaris, I'd like to ask you, have you been officially ever diagnosed with a concussion?
Yes, I've had 3 concussions, I think.
And what were some of the experiences that you went through? What was the protocol like? Let's just start there with what the protocol was like. What were you instructed to do, and what was sort of the treatment plan that you were given?
The first time I got one was 2019, and the procedure was basically, you get the concussion, they take you in the locker room, they make sure that you get to a normal state where you can answer these simple questions, remember where you are, all that, and then after that, the procedures is pretty much just rest and make sure you're not in a lightly lit room, and you just kind of calm your brain and get everything to kind of calm down. And when I got my second one, it was a little different. It was more of a wait and see game. They didn't really tell me about the lights. They didn't really tell me about what to do to really like shake back into my normal self, and I kind of had to start figuring that out for myself. But basically in that time, I just kind of took the same approach from the first time, just, avoid light, make sure you're hydrated and lay down and get off your feet and just kind of get your body to relax again. But this last one really taught me a lot. Just going off of those 2 experiences, I knew that there had to be more. There had to be something else, because there's some kind of disconnect in the communication, because the second time was very different from the first time. So this time, I kind of took it upon myself to make sure that I seek out, help outside of just the training staff, which I think is big for a lot of people, because you trust those people so much, especially, you say yes to a lot of people in the locker room or on any team. You have people that are above you and they have more expertise than you would have on the subject. So you just kind of take their word for it and move on. But this time I made sure, just for my sake and, my family's sake and, my health going forward, that I seek help outside of that, just to be sure. And, there's a lot of specialists that you'd be surprised at how far along concussion education has come to this point. So, during that process, I learned a lot of things that I never would have even thought to think about before. And I think I'm grateful for that, and I'm still playing. So, so it ends up being all good right now. And, we'll see how it continues to go, but I think I'm in pretty good hands.
I do want to ask you, I've had a concussion myself, but I do want to ask you, how long was it until you not only felt like yourself again, but you also felt like, okay, DeVaris can go back out on the field and contribute, and there was no longer that fear or that uneasiness of, is this going to happen again?
Yeah. For me personally, anytime that I've gotten it, just knowing about concussions and, watching the concussion movie and, getting scared about it all. And I make sure that, if I had one and they said I had one, then I'll take a week off for sure. No matter what. And then, we'll see how I feel from there. But every concussion is different. Like my first one was very different from my second one. My second one was very different from this last one. And you kind of have to go into it with that kind of mindset, I guess, if you're able to, because like I said, everyone is different. It could be, a lot of stuff going on with your thinking from, stressing your neck, from, stressing your eyes. It's a lot of, different, intricacies of what a concussion actually, or where your concussion actually is. And so everyone is different. I think you have to evaluate each one differently, and you can tell kind of by the severity of it. Just if you see like, I hate to bring it up, but like two on the field, like you can see like it's just not there. Like it's just something else going on. It's a very tense situation. Like those ones are, I would say, more scary, but they don't necessarily tell the full story at the same time. So it's kind of tricky. But yeah, I think you just go into it judging everyone differently and not taking them all the same.
Now, Philip, I want to bring you into the fold on this. And I know that from the time that you got into the league, which was over 25 years ago, to now, you've seen what DeVaris has been through, and I'm sure that you were certainly, if you never got a concussion yourself, you certainly saw the protocol, what it was like 25 years ago. What's changed?
That's on me, guys. But it's come a long, long way. When I came through, there was not a lot said about concussions. We used to go out and hit people, and we get these little stars that we see floating, and that was deemed a concussion. It's deemed a concussion now, but back then it was just a ding. You just continue playing, and we didn't know that was a concussion back then. So there's like DeVaris said, the education about concussions have come a long way. We went out there and we were taught to be physical. A lot of guys were taught to lead with their heads and stuff like that.
Right.
But I think I was fortunate enough to have great technique when I played. So it kind of sheltered me from a lot of that head trauma that a lot of these guys go through. I'm not saying that I don't have something. I don't have anything wrong, because when you're playing on a defensive line and you're going against guys every day, every week, and you being physical, you got to use your head in some form. So I think, every O lineman or D lineman got something going on, but you try to limit the amount of contact and physical play that you use with your head. And that's one of the reasons I got into coaching. That's one of the reasons I wanted to go out and help guys with their technique, so they don't have to use their head as much and be more physical with their hands. And that's the key to it, being physical with your hands. And I was fortunate enough to be physical with my hands and use my hands and get separation and get off blocks and stuff like that. So that helped me out a lot. So yeah, the education part of it come a long way. We didn't get none of that. I remember when the movie came out, Will Smith movie. I mean, I cried after that movie because there was a lot of stuff hidden from us back then. We didn't know the impact of using your helmet and going out there and contacting people with your helmet. We didn't know none of that, because there used to be a video or a show called, I think it was called Crunch Course or something like that. I remember it in high school. They used to show it to us all the time. And it was the biggest hits in the NFL. It was all helmet contact. It was taking somebody out. It was trying to knock somebody out. We used to watch that all the time. And I think they took that off. They took that down and banned it or something, because I can't find it anywhere anymore. But at the same time, that's what we were taught back then. We were taught to be physical, come out there and use your helmet and strike people. And now, the NFL has done a good job. All these leagues really has done a good job of going out and taking that away. The game's changed so much. And everybody that want to complain about the NFL ain't doing enough, doing this, doing that, well, the game's changed so much that we always say it's watered down now. It's watered down a lot. But it's watered down for a good reason. And it's to protect the players and protect them from going out there and also to protect them from themselves at times. But, a lot of guys didn't want change. A lot of guys weren't trying to hear that. They want the change. But I think it was a good change. And I think it's for the better of the sports and for all levels. I'm talking about Pee Wee League, high school, college, on up to the pros, so it's good for everybody.
Now, I want to ask, this is for DeVaris and for Philip. Now, obviously playing on the line, you're going to have impact on virtually every snap. DeVaris, I would imagine that your concussions probably came, whether you're going across the middle or whether you're, outside. In terms of the concussions, because again, I would imagine you're moving full speed, and nothing against you, Philip, but I would imagine DeVaris probably moves a little bit faster. So, what does that? What are the differences there?
I think at my position, a lot of times you don't see it coming.
Right.
And, you're so focused on the ball and catching the ball that as you're going across the middle and there's somebody coming full speed that you're just like, whatever's going to happen is kind of inevitable. But I think, in my dad's case where you're in the trenches and you're constantly using, your head button and constantly, doing that over and over and again for 60 minutes with a guy that's doing the same thing back to you, it's a little different. So, in my case, it's unpredictable. In every case, it's kind of unpredictable, but in my case, you don't really see it coming. So it's kind of unavoidable. A little bit more unavoidable, I guess, in that sense. But yeah, there's a difference there for sure. I don't know what your take is on it, Dad.
Yeah, being a receiver and out in space where you're going to try to catch a ball and your eyes is on the ball and not on the defender, it's a lot easier for those guys to take the contact, unnecessary hits to the head and things like that. Now, in my son's, here's the thing about my son. He's a tough dude. He loved going across the middle. He loved catching balls across the middle. He has no fear when he go across the middle. And he'll go and catch any ball in traffic, even if the ball's like put in a bad position, maybe the quarterback threw him into bad situations. He going to go catch because that's what he's taught to do, go catch the ball. And some of the hits he's taken, well, I know this last year or so, 2 of the concussions, I know one came on a slant with a guy. Pretty much, I thought he just tried to take him out. I thought the guy from the jump came at him because he was killing that team. I want to say he had almost 200 yards in the first half, and dude was killing. He was killing him, and so he tried to take him out, and so he came right to his head. And for a father who's watching his son lay on the field, eyes rolled back, head, everything flying off. You know what I'm saying? He laying there. And I knew right away he had a concussion. I knew he didn't know where he was. He had that glass look in his eyes, and it's just scary, man. And then
it's got to be a pretty helpless feeling, yeah.
Yeah, and then
he got
the second concussion. And I remember he'll remember this too. I texted him and I said, "Hey, man, if you get another concussion this year, we may have to call it quits, and because your health is more important than any game you're going to play." And because he got a young son and a girlfriend, or fiance rather, that he's got to look out for, you know what I'm saying? And you don't want to be a vegetable when you get older, you know what I'm saying? Not be able to function and those kind of things like that. So I was concerned as a father, but I know my son loved football. And I know a lot of the reason that my sons play football is because of me, because they fell in love with the game. They followed me and they were going to play. So I'm not going to tell them not to play. I'm just going to tell them to be careful and take care of themselves and think about themselves before they think about this game that don't love them back all the time.
I want to swing back to, of course, you're now a coach, Phil. And how would you say that the way that you were taught your technique in particular, the way you were taught how to play, as opposed to how you teach guys these days. How much has that changed, and how much has that changed as a result of just concussion protocol, what we know now, and the way that the game has just evolved as a whole?
Well, I was fortunate enough to have a coach named Tommy Brazier, who I had in Seattle, my first coach in the NFL. He taught me a lot of technique, hand placement, locking out, using your hands, being physical with your hands. And that saved me a lot of the trauma that a lot of the other guys go through. I always say that whoever your first coach is in the NFL, that coach is going to determine whether you play a long time in the league or it's going to be short-lived. Because if they don't teach technique and they're not teaching the little things that can protect yourself, but at the same time be in position to make plays, then they're doing you a disservice. So my thing is, I was fortunate to have that guy that gave me those tools and taught me those tools, and I used them my whole career. So what Tommy taught me, I carried it my whole career. I used it on every team I was with. My technique came with me. And here's the thing about technique. Technique gonna take you a lot farther than anything else. Any athletic ability, anything like that. It's gonna take you way farther. I tell my guys that all the time. And like I told you guys, that's one of the reasons I got into coaching, because I saw that I can give back in so many ways and protect these guys in so many ways. And the first conversation I always have with my guys is that, guys, if you get a concussion, don't be stupid. Let us know. Let us know, because as coaches, we got to protect our guys from themselves. These guys want to play. They want to make a lot of money. The only way you're going to make money is be on the field, right? So my thing is we have to protect them from themselves. And like Urlacher came out, Brian Urlacher came out and said a while back, he played through some concussions because he felt like, he ain't on the field, you ain't going to get paid, you know what I'm saying? And he want to play. But sometimes it's up to the coaches to say, sit down, we got enough bodies, we'll get you next time.
Now, I have a question for DeVaris. I wanted to know, obviously, football is family, as people say. I wanted to know, when you had your first concussion or any of the concussions you've had, unfortunately, what was the response from teammates? Was there any kind of pressure? Hey, man, shake it off, get back on the field. Did they kind of leave you on your own to let you go through the process? And when you felt comfortable and healthy enough to come back to the field, you were able to? How'd your teammates react to it?
Well, I think I got a kind of different reaction than some people before me, because like this whenever I got mine, it was also after the big movie came out with Will Smith. So like I think that movie brought a lot more attention to what actually can happen with when it comes to concussion. So when I got the first one, everybody was kind of, take your time, do whatever you got to do to get right. But after a while, those conversations kind of dimmed down, and I think inside you feel a little pressure to get back out there, especially the first one. You feel a little pressure to get back out there and be out there with your teammates, because any glimpse of feeling semi-normal, you want to convince yourself that you're back to normal. And I think that's something that I had to deal with. And, fortunately for me, I sat about 3 weeks after that one, unwillingly. Like I wasn't planning on sitting that long. I didn't really want to sit that long, but they kept me out for a good 3 to 4 weeks. So I was grateful for that. But obviously, when you don't know nothing about it and you're going through it for the first time, you want to get back out there as soon as you can. But I think just the technology and the education that we have now, tells us to, really take our time with these things and make sure that the player is completely back to his normal self. And you can tell that from, just how he's interacting with other people, how he's coming around the building, the conversations that you have one-on-one. So I think, Edmonton was where I was at the time. I think they did a pretty good job with, taking care of me.
And I'd ask the same question to you too, Phil. When you had teammates during your career that were concussed and were missing games, did you leave that person alone, talk to them? How was kind of that handled during your time in the NFL?
For me, I'm always the kind of guy that respect injuries. When guys are hurt, they hurt. I used to go to the guys and say, man, listen, just make sure you good before you come back. Don't come out here and hurt yourself worse by playing this game that it's going to be there. It's going to be there next week, the week after next, and down the line. So don't come back too fast. I console the guys and just tell them, everything's going to be okay. Because I know I've had, I've been concussed but I was able to walk off the field. I just couldn't see. So, I mean, I knew something was wrong, and I walked off the field, and that was it for me. But like I say, and I'll tell you guys why coaches got to protect these guys from themselves is because I was one of those guys, when I got my vision back on the sideline, I wanted to know where my helmet was. I'm going back on the field. They knew I was going to go back on the field. So they hid my helmet, hid it in the hedges above they hid it. And I was like, man, where's my helmet? I couldn't find my helmet to save my life. I'm looking around for it, but they hid it from me. And so I was one of those guys they knew I was going to go back out there and play because I'm a warrior. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of them guys, I'm tough. But, I'm glad they hit my helmet and not allowed me to go back out there because I could have did more damage. But, yeah, so, I mean, it's just one of those things where, when you like DeVar said, when you want to play, you're a football player, somebody got to protect you from yourself. And that's what's got to happen. And so I'm fortunate enough that they did that for me. And like I said, I had a lot of concussions. If they deem these little white dots you see as a concussion, well, I had a bunch of them, high school, college, pros. I had a bunch of them. So.
Now, my next question is going to be for both of you guys. I wanted to kind of know as well. We talked about that. You just talked about, Philip, about stars and not seeing things. When it comes to physicians that are on these teams, of course, trainers, the medical staff and the team, a lot of faith is put in these people because you all get paid and make your living off playing football, which means you have to be in the best physical tip-top shape. Well, some of the things we've been seeing going on, not just Tua, but things we've seen in the past, is there any kind of hesitancy when you get an evaluation from your doctor, your team doctor, meaning when they say like, hey, you're good to go, you can go back on the field? Has there ever been any kind of like, I don't know about that? Because you're the one obviously that's playing. You're the one that knows how you feel physically. Or has it always still been like, if the doc says I'm good, I'm good? This for both of you guys. Anybody can go first.
Yeah, I'm sympathetic to the doctors in a way because the NFL is a big business. These guys pay teams to be the team doctors just so they can have that on their resume under their name. And they give these guys like questions before the season. They give them this concussion protocol, this testing and stuff, that they have to answer all these questions and go through this process before they allow them back on the field. I'm sorry. But my thing is, like anybody you can be concussed and still, it's different levels of concussions. Let's just say it like that. It's different levels of concussions. Whereas I was able to walk off the field and gather myself and get my vision back, where another guy could be, knocked out on the field, unconscious or whatever. And so, but thing is, they can come and still pass the test, and these doctors, they're going to allow them to go back on the field. And the thing is, with the NFL being a big business and so much money involved, I feel like some of these doctors they feel the pressure of saying, hey, we got to get him back on the field. We got to let him play. Instead of saying, no, you're not going back. But here's the thing. I think the NFL can help out because when I'm looking at Tua's situation. Tua, he got off the ground, he got up, and he fell down when his teammates had to catch him. I just feel like when a guy in that situation that you can see it easily, that he fell down on the ground and you knew he was concussed, he don't come back in that game. He don't come back that game. And here's the thing. He don't play the next week either, right? It ain't like a guy like me that walked off the field. I was never like shaky or wobbly or anything like that. The vision problems and stuff like that, But in that case, you got to get him out that game and definitely not let him play the next week. And definitely not let him play Thursday night football 4 days later. So my thing is, in that situation, the league got to start stepping up and saying, okay, we got to do a little bit more. If somebody get concussed in a game and is visible that they fell down, they can't stand up on their own, they automatically miss the rest of that game, and they automatically miss the next week's game. And then we're going to continue to do tests on them until we deem it safe for them to go back out there, and then we'll let them play. That's what's got to happen.
Yeah, I would agree. Speaking on NFL, I think it's a little different here in the CFL, which the league I play in, because as the CFL, there's only 9 teams. It's not like it's not a big market like the NFL. We're not bringing in billions of dollars, so it's a little different when it comes to that relationship with your trainers. I think it's more personable because we kind of are all on the same level. Whereas in the NFL, you got dudes making millions of dollars and trainers making hundreds of thousands, maybe, or less than that. And so that word isn't taken the same from a NFL player versus where here, yet that word of a trainer in the CFL is a little bit more. I don't want to say sacred, but it hits a little bit more closer to home, or you can take it for what it is a little bit better. So I think that every situation should be a personal feel. Nobody, I don't care what doctor is out there, what specialist is out there, nobody can tell you how your body feels but you. So I think that a lot of people are starting to take that approach. Especially here in the CFL, where it's not like $1 billion industry and you can just, go out there and put more money in your pocket and get these big checks. So it's like, the trainers over here actually kind of look out for you in that sense. So with my concussions, it was all really, it became to a point where they felt like I was good to go. They would still ask me like, how do you feel? Do you feel like you're good to go? And we got a situation on our team right now. Another player had a concussion and was feeling good after a week and came back and played in the game. And then after the game, he got more symptoms. And
oh, wow. This
is early in the season. I think that's week 3 that he got the symptoms again and hasn't played. And we now in like week 16 or something. So, like I said, every concussion is different. Everything is different. You can feel good one day, and then the next day it's not the same. And I definitely feel like, in any situation when there's concussion, even a question of concussion, that player should automatically have to sit for a week. If you can kind of nip it in the bud early and just, give him a little bit of more time to figure out how he feels, or you get a sense of how they feel, or if you think that's what's best for them, then a week is not going to make or break your season at any cost, but it's most importantly, it's not going to, deter whomever's life. So that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of players, especially in our league at least, take the how do I feel approach versus, trying to get back on this field as fast as possible.
As they should, for sure.
I do want to. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
No, go ahead, Larry.
No, I was going to say, I do want to read Tony Dungy, who I would think is widely considered to be sort of the moral compass of the NFL in a lot of regards. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He was pretty, and also known for being a very level-headed person, very level-headed thinker. I want to read his tweet, and anybody can jump in on this. And I quote here, "Broken system. I was on the sideline, very close to Brate. Obviously had his bell rung. There's a league-appointed spotter in the press box who should stop play and alert the referee. Brate shouldn't have been allowed to return until after an evaluation. Why didn't that happen?"
I didn't see Brate's concussion or whatever. Did he fall down? Was he noticeably wobbly?
He was
woozy, but I'd say it was semi-noticeable.
Yeah, if it's noticeable, I think you gotta take him out the game. You gotta take him out of that game, and he gotta miss the next week's game. I'm just sorry. You gotta do that. You gotta protect these guys in some way, some form or fashion. You gotta protect them. So I'm with Coach Dungy on that, because when you can see a guy is hurting and that he's got a concussion, he ain't all there. I don't care what questions he answered. So some guys, I think some of these guys like go through the year and kind of memorize these questions and how they were answered, and it's stuck in their heads, and it's easy to answer those questions. And so you can't go off of that. You got to go off of what you see with your own eyes. And like I said, they got a guy upstairs looking down to checking these guys out. And yes, they've been wrong. Sometimes they'll call down and say, take a guy out the game, and there's nothing wrong with the guy. But at least they know they looking at that. But when you can see a guy that's visible, you can see it. You know, you could tell that something is wrong. You could tell that he's woozy, he's wobbly, he's about to fall down. A teammate about to catch him, had to catch him, hold him up. You got to do something in that situation.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the Tua situation. Obviously, we saw what happened. Philip mentioned it earlier with the hit he took on that Buffalo game, and then coming back 4 days later and playing on Thursday night. We all know what happened on Thursday night, unfortunately, and obviously all of us wish him a speedy recovery and good health. I wanted to know about what you guys thought, reaction, Larry included in this question, with what happened so far. Obviously, the NFLPA has fired the independent neurologist that examined and cleared Tua. Do we think that's, I guess what I'm looking for is legit firing, or was it one situation where we got to find somebody's got to be the scapegoat? We pick you. Because, I mean, I haven't heard anything at all from the Miami Dolphins except for he passed all the tests. He was cleared by doctors, kind of like a hands-off approach from the Dolphins. Do we think that's just they picked that guy and made him the fall guy, or do you think there's more to it than that?
Well, I said it earlier. The neurologist probably was going by protocol. He answered a bunch of questions. He checked him out. He seemed good to go, but then he was allowed to go back on the field because he did everything he's supposed to do. And so sometimes this is what I feel. I feel the NFL has to just step in and make it clear. If you get a concussion and you fall down and somebody have to hold you up or you go back to the turf, you automatically out that game. And well, actually, whoever get a concussion in a game should be out the rest of the game. But if you fall down, you got to miss the next week's game and possibly even longer. They just got to make it clear. These neurologists, they pay the teams to do the service, but at the same time, like I told you, this is a big business, and they feel like, and sometimes they're pressured to think, okay, if the guy passed the test and he do everything he need to do, I need to get him back on the field as fast as possible. I need to get him back out there, and that's how they think. Because I don't want to look bad on myself, not putting this guy back on the field and they lose games. You know what I'm saying? That's the thinking on their part. Yes, they're to protect the guy, but if he passed every test that he should pass, then hey, I don't hold them accountable. I kind of like think the league got to step in and do more.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more a league situation. I think the league has to step in at some point and because they saw the film too. Like, they saw the highlight too. I'm sure you can step in and say, nah, we're $1 billion, industry. So like, let's make sure that we don't taint our name at all. I think that's how they have to approach it. But I don't think you can blame the neurologist or the specialist that he saw, because I'm like everybody, there's a competitor in you that wants to get back out there as fast as possible. And I'm sure, Tua probably expressed that he was, he was good to go. Probably answered the questions right, probably, did the test well at that time. But in a short week, I'm just wondering how many times did we take the test? How many times did we repeat the process to really see? So I think those questions kind of have to be answered. But at the end of the day, I think, the league saw the same film, and just to allow that to happen, to put that back out there, I don't think that was too good on their part.
I have a lot of thoughts around this. I mean, I would say, first of all, it's pretty clear that the league always operates in its own best interest. Philip, you alluded to that a little while ago, that I don't remember exactly what you said verbatim, but they're always in it to protect the shield, right? That's kind of the motto that's emerged under Roger Goodell. I do think that there has to be some sort of culpability at the organizational level in regard to the Miami Dolphins. I don't know how this guy was able to be cleared, Tua, that is, and go back out 4 days later. I don't know what that process looks like, but I think that, Philip, you're definitely onto something. Tavares, you hit on this as well. There has to be some sort of rhyme and reason in terms of protocol where we know beyond a reasonable doubt that, like you said, if somebody is falling down, to be, not to be funny here, but if somebody's vomiting on the sidelines or vomiting in the middle of the field, if there are very telltale signs that there is something neurological that's going on that's above and beyond just a quote ding. At that point, you really have to. I think the league has to invest more in terms of really clearing a guy completely. There's a lot that we don't know about concussions, but what we do know. And Philip, I'd actually like to ask you this: what is the difference in terms of how people are treated when it comes to getting a concussion as opposed to a ding on the arm or the elbow? Or, I mean, are people more sensitive to that now?
No, I just think it's just totally two different things. A body part, you can kind of look at that and see if you're functionable and if you're okay. You just wrap it up, going back out there, whatever. But when it comes to a brain injury, and like Tua's injury was scary, man. You saw his fingers. You know that there was a lot of damage there.
Yeah.
For a guy's fingers to do that kind of stuff, it was a lot of damage there.
Yeah, I don't think anybody will ever forget that saw it.
Yeah, the biggest question now is, will he play again this year? And when do we come back? That's the biggest question, because it's obvious that he had a lot of damage for his fingers, and to do that, I've never seen that before. And so I'm praying for him. I hope he recovers. He's a good player. They need him in Miami, but they don't need him to the point where his health is in danger. They need to do something right there. I question whether he'll be back this year. And if he do come back, you got to really watch him and make sure that he's good, because no test, like I say, no test can determine whether you should keep playing or should go back out there or whatever. You got to see that with your own eyes. You got to be careful with these guys and make sure that these guys are good to go before you put them back on that field.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It was something I've never seen before in a football game, as much football as I've watched either on television or live. And like Larry said, that's an image I don't think I'm going to forget anytime soon. Kind of switching gears to what we saw on Sunday night with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. And we saw that game, and we saw Patrick Mahomes do what we've come accustomed to seeing Patrick Mahomes do, which is things we've never seen on a football field before. I guess the question is, was that game – I thought the Super Bowl a couple of years ago would have been the time when it happened, but it didn't, obviously, because Tom Brady won that game. But did we see a passing of the baton from Tom Brady to Patrick Mahomes, as far as Mahomes being the next great quarterback in the NFL? Or are there so many great young quarterbacks in the league that it's too early to even say that baton's been passed to Patrick Mahomes? You think about Lamar Jackson, you think about your Jalen Hurts, you think about your Josh Allens, a lot of great young quarterbacks out there. But did Patrick Mahomes take the mantle from Tom Brady on Sunday, and is he the new young GOAT in training, so to speak?
Well, Davaris, you're our guest, so I'll let you go ahead and take the first swing at this one if you like.
Yeah, for me, I think you have to say that. I think you have to kind of acknowledge the fact that Mahomes has been doing this since the first time we seen him step on the field, and out of that young group, he has the most championships to back that up. So I think it's still early, though. It's still early because Tom usually once the season gets rolling, he usually cranks it up a bit. But definitely out of that next group on the rise right now, I think Mahomes has that. Lamar is right there. I love Herbert. I love Joe Burrow. I love all those guys. So it's a great group to really be watching. But I think right now you got to say that Mahomes is, after Tom Brady, I think, and Aaron Rodgers, I think that you got to say that Mahomes is that next quarterback.
Well,
What do you say, Philip?
For me, Tom Brady's like 90 years old, guys. He's the GOAT, you know what I'm saying? He's the GOAT, and he's got to pass the baton at some point. I just think one thing about Tom Brady this year that's different from past years is that he's getting hit a lot more early in the season this year.
Yeah.
That O-line is not protecting him the way they did in the past. So I'm kind of concerned with him taking those kind of hits and how long it lasts. I saw him grab his arm, his shoulder the other day, and I thought he was hurt. And I was like, well, he got up, but he's tough. He's tough. But one thing about Tom Brady, I'm going to tell you, he got to pass the torch to these young guys, and there's a bunch of them out there. You know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of young guys that he passing this torch to. But he's still going to be the GOAT. Till you get those championships, he's still the GOAT. And my thing is, like I told you guys, that they play Atlanta next week, I think, or this week. And Tom Brady, one thing after a game like that, Tom Brady usually comes out and light the next team up. So get ready, Atlanta. Good luck, because the GOAT's coming, and he's coming mad. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that he got to pass the torch, and he don't mind passing the torch because he's accomplished all the things he needs to accomplish. He has no shame in losing to a guy like Mahomes, who's a good quarterback and got two of the most creative play callers in the game calling plays for him. So he got Bieniemy and Andy Reid calling plays for him. Y'all saw that play the other day when the tight end goes in motion, stops under the center, and Mahomes is pulling somewhere. They think they snap it and ran a tight end sneak. A tight end sneak. I would have never thought of that. You know what I'm saying? So he got two of the most creative play callers in the game. So Mahomes gonna always look good. Now the other stuff he do, how he throw the ball, that's all on him. He's just a playmaker, man.
Yeah. Nah, definitely for sure. It was definitely a good game. And I'm with you, Philip, too, when it comes to seeing Tom Brady taking on as many hits as he has. We talked about how the offensive line had a bunch of injuries and people were wondering, was that going to affect his play? And I thought he gets rid of the ball so fast that the offensive line being banged up wouldn't be a factor. Obviously, through the first quarter of the season, that's been proven to be wrong. It's definitely a factor. You see him getting hit and banged up a lot. And we have to see. I saw he said something on, I think it was Instagram or Twitter, one of the social media platforms, where he said he's going to have to do some TB12 to the shoulder to get it in shape. And I'm sure it'll be just in enough shape to take on Atlanta on Sunday and kind of redeem himself. What were your thoughts, Larry, on that whole game on Sunday?
Oh, wow. Well, as you know, my first job quite a few gray hairs ago was covering Michael Vick when he was at Virginia Tech. And I used to always say that Michael Vick could do things on the football field that you would never see another quarterback be able to do. I'm going to echo that sentiment as far as Patrick Mahomes. I mean, some of the left-handed passes and, again, the tight end sneaks, he has such a masterful command of that offense and being able to work with the weapons that he has. Losing the Cheetah did not slow him down in any way, shape, or form. Again, going to echo the sentiment about having Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. That certainly plays to his favor, but my goodness, Patrick Mahomes is a generational talent. Now, having said that, I mean, I'm looking at Josh Allen, I'm looking at Joe Burrow, I'm looking at some of these other guys, Lamar Jackson, who is obviously looking for somewhere between $250 and $500 million this offseason. There is competition for that mantle right now like I don't know that we've ever seen. I mean, when I look at the way that these quarterbacks are coming out these days, they're ready to go at 22, 23, 24 years old. Patrick Mahomes was the MVP. I want to say he was 23. Lamar was the MVP. He was under 25. I would say, and Justin Herbert is certainly, he's just a phenomenal talent. Kind of gets lost in the shuffle largely because even though he's in a major market here in LA, the Rams are the media darling. It'll be really interesting to see, but if I had to pick one guy under 26, 27, whatever the ages are, Patrick, Josh, Lamar, you could put those names in a hat, and I don't think you're going to go wrong either way. But right now, Patrick has one thing that the others don't, and that's he's got the ring. So I believe we're going to go ahead and go to break right now. This has been a really great conversation we've had so far. And Tavares, if you want to hang out with us, you're more than welcome to. When we come back, we're going to be getting into some of the other games that happened over the weekend. We're going to be talking a little bit about fantasy football, what to be looking for in coming out of the first quarter of the season, who we've seen things from, who's really impressed us through the first quarter of the year, and what to expect the rest of the way. You're watching The Perspective right here on Nuts and Bolts Sports.
And welcome back to The Perspective, brought to you by Nuts and Bolts Sports. Larry Bazzani, Philip Daniels, and we have Darius Daniels joining us as well, our special guest today. We're still continuing our conversation, talking about some of the games and some of the storylines we saw this past week in the NFL. And one thing we talked about in our last show was how the Buffalo Bills had just beaten the brakes off of anybody, anywhere, anytime. And we saw the opposite kind of happen for a little while on Sunday, where for the second time in as many weeks, we saw the Baltimore Ravens take a pretty commanding lead. They lose the lead, end up losing the game to Buffalo. But I think more importantly than the Ravens' collapse for me was to see the toughness of Baltimore. Go on the road, you get down, you could have folded up shop and closed up the tent, but they decided to fight back, end up coming back and winning that game. And I think it was a big statement to the league that the Buffalo Bills, who, by the way, are my Super Bowl pick, are a legit team to be reckoned with the NFL. What were some of you guys' thoughts on the Buffalo Bills' performance, and maybe even talk a little bit about the Ravens' collapse?
I think for me, when I look at the Bills, they needed a game like that. They needed a game. They lose to Miami. I think it was Miami. Yep. And then they come back and they in a dogfight, right? They need to win a close game like that to get themselves where they need to be and get themselves better. I remember the Super Bowl year with the Eagles. We had a lot of games, close games, that we had to find a way to win, whether it was kicking a 61-yard field goal or winning in the end some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have some close games. You're going to have some games where you need a little luck during the season to get through those games. And they found a way to win. That's the main thing. They found a way to win that game and get through it. So I just think Buffalo, they're on the right track. You know, I think this game is going to propel them to be even greater. I think as you go down the road here and you see all these guys play, they had a few injuries here and there that's come up, but at the same time, I think this team's going to get a lot stronger as they go through this season.
Yeah, I would dovetail off of a lot of what you just said, Phil. First of all, this was a tough couple of weeks for them. We knew going in that this was going to be a speed bump in their schedule. Going down to Miami, regardless of the time of the year, is always got to be challenging because if you're not accustomed and acclimatized to that weather, it's demanding to play there in South Beach, along with everything else that comes with playing in Miami. But that's another story. So it's seeing them come back, against a very game Ravens team, a team that we know is going to be there in January. They're going to be there in the end. Very impressive win. I think that it does build that sort of cohesiveness within that locker room that, hey, we can win a dogfight. Because I think one of the things that always happens is, again, the sort of reputation, if you will, about Lamar has always been with the Ravens in general is that they just get out so fast on people. What do they do when they're faced with a dogfight? Well, Buffalo had to look internally and dig deep, and you saw the cohesiveness there in terms of just being able to gut this one out, come back, win late. Like so many others, I picked Buffalo to go to the Super Bowl. I think that Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen have a chemistry that we may not have seen since. I'm ready to say Montana Rice. I mean, those two were ridiculously in sync. So Buffalo, and again, I mean, Baltimore is. They're no day in the park. That culture has been established for a long time. To go in there and win, that's a really, really impressive victory.
Well, I'm gonna have to say this. AFC, right? Kansas City look good.
Yeah.
I don't know how they lost in Indy. Or maybe they underestimated them a little bit or whatever. But that's hard. This league has been so funny this year. The NFL has been so crazy. Games that you think guys are going to blow guys out, the other team wins. So it's like that in NFL. They say, in a given Sunday, and that's true. You got to come with your A game every week. But Kansas City look good, man. They look real good. Yeah. And so it's going to be a dogfight down to the end. And I just think, of course, Miami did beat Buffalo. They're the head of that division right now. But at the same time, they meet again this year. It's going to be a whole different story. And I think Miami may have to go up in the cold weather. So they went down in the heat. I think Miami going to have to go up in the cold. So it kind of evens out somewhere. So those two teams just keep winning. And Miami, I don't know. I mean, They look good. They didn't look good this past week, but they look good when they play Buffalo. I guess they get up for certain teams, but you got to get up for every team, and that's the thing. And it comes out to the end of this thing, it's going to be a lot of teams fighting for that positioning, and I just think Buffalo and Kansas City really stands out to me on that side.
Tavares.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, just being on a few championship teams, like when you can go through adversity early, like talking about Buffalo, they've had, close games. They've had games where they've blown out people. They've lost a game that they feel like they shouldn't have lost. And then they bounce back the next week, losing early and find a way to claw back into a game, a big game at that against a pretty good team. So anytime that you can go through adversity early and see how you can withstand something like that, I just think that makes you a dangerous team. And, having all the playmakers that they have and Diggs, and I like Davis a lot. And the quarterback Allen and that defense. So I just think that, rightfully so, they should be the favorite to win the Super Bowl. But there's a lot of season left. Hopefully, everybody can stay healthy. But I think right now, them and the Chiefs are looking pretty dangerous.
And Philip, I'm going to keep this one kind of in-house now. The last undefeated team is the Philadelphia Eagles. It's tough for those of us who spent our lives rooting for another team in the NFC East to give anybody dap, because those of us who have gray hair, we're losing hair at this point. We remember those rivalries and how deep they run. But any surprises there? Nick Sirianni, he seems to really have that program going in the right direction. And my Italian biases aside, I was a little unsure about where he was going to be able to take the Eagles. I remember his opening press conference, and quite frankly, I wasn't that impressed with him. But he has that team firing on all cylinders. He seems to really have a rapport developed with Jalen Hurts. What's your take?
Well, there was a point in the head coach's first year where he had to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? He had to figure it out. And what he figured out was that when you run the football, you can win games. And early last season, he wasn't running the football much at all. He was just trying to throw it all over the place. And then it came like 4 or 5 games in, they ran the ball and they blew somebody out. And then after that, he's been running the ball ever since. And you got Miles in the backfield. I mean, you got those guys. You got backs in the backfield. You got one of the best O-lines in the NFL. Put the ball in the running back hands, and good things happen. Once you get the run game going, now they get all these guys up in the box, and now you can throw it over the top and do some things. Philly is just dangerous all the way around. Their defense and their offense, they got weapons everywhere. And the defense has stepped up, and they're making plays, The D-line's playing well. They got one of the best secondaries in the league. I just think Philly, they just got to just like take it one game at a time, You're trying to get to 5-0, and you just got to take it one play at a time and one game at a time. Don't get too ahead of yourself thinking Super Bowl or anything like that. Just take it one step at a time and keep marching, you know what I'm saying? Of course, you look at that division, they're going to win the division hands down. I mean, I think some of the toughest games they're going to have on their schedule now is Dallas and the Giants. You can't underestimate those teams, you know what I'm saying? So you just got to keep marching one play at a time and play every play like it's your last play, and good things going to happen.
Yeah, kind of sticking with the NFC and talking about that, I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the first quarter of the season's kind of done. What are some of the biggest surprises, biggest disappointments that you all have seen? I'll definitely share mine. I think for me, what's been my 2 biggest surprises so far in the NFL season has been, obviously, we just talked about the play of the Eagles. I did not see them being the only undefeated team left at this point of the season. And I talked about it off the air. I've been really impressed with just the way 2 teams actually, how hard and how much improved Jacksonville is. I know they're 500, but this is a team that we all know what happened last year when they had a substitute teacher in the role of a coach down there, kind of letting them do whatever they want to do. Now they have Doug Peterson. They got some structure, got some players they signed, spent a lot of money in the offseason, seeing much improved football from them. And then their defense in Detroit could use a Philip Daniels, because their defense can't stop a bloody nose. But the Lions play hard each and every Sunday. Like Dan Campbell has those boys strapping up and until the final whistle, they're giving it all they got. So those are my two biggest takeaways so far this season. Has been Jacksonville, Philadelphia, the Lions, and then my disappointments would be I got to go with the Colts. I thought they'd be a lot better than this. And then keeping it home locally, just Washington. I guess I had way too much faith that Carson Wentz would make a big improvement on the team. It's not totally his fault. We have probably one of the worst O-lines in the NFL, but still, I had a little bit more high expectations for Washington. I don't see the level of play as far as playing hard from the first whistle to the last like I see with Jacksonville and Detroit.
Man, I'm with you on all that, man. Everything you just said is probably how I feel. I think one of my biggest surprises is, really, I can't say a biggest surprise, but that Miami is playing the way they playing. I know they added pieces and stuff like that, but, they still got a first year coaching staff, and they're playing well, and, I would have never thought they'd beat Buffalo. I thought Buffalo would just go out and win that game and keep it marching, you know what I'm saying? But Miami's defense, they just hadn't played well. I got them on my fantasy team. That's why I know. So I just think that my biggest surprise is Miami, and I'm not surprised by Jacksonville as much as most people because I know Doug Peterson. I know he's going to go down there and get that team together and have them playing for each other. And they played a good game the other day. You know what I'm saying? There was just the more talented team won that game. But when you see them play, they got guys that play hard and go out and give the effort. They just don't play. They just don't do the right things all the time, and that gets them in trouble sometimes. But at the same time, I think Jacksonville is when you look at that division, why can't they win it? You know what I'm saying? Why can't they win that division? Right now, they tops on the division. You got Tennessee, the only team you're really worried about right now. I mean, of course, Indy's there, but Jacksonville is improving every week, and I think they can actually come and make some noise toward the end there. But other than that, you know what I'm saying, the other teams like Detroit, you mentioned Detroit, I watched them a lot. I watched their defense a lot, and the defense ain't stopping nobody right now. And it all starts up front, you know what I'm saying? You got to be able to stop the run game. You can't stop the run, you're going to be in trouble. And of course, Houston the same way. If you can't stop the run, you're going to be in trouble. That's the one thing I see in those teams. And the only way you're going to be competitive is to get that fixed, and then the good things going to happen.
80, I'll turn it over to you if you want to go.
Yeah. A couple of surprises for me. I think the first thing is I'm gonna be honest, I didn't expect Mahomes to be doing this well without Cheetah outside for him. So that's one of my surprises. Another one would be the Rams right now. I thought the Rams would be much more competitive than they've been. And who else is out there? I don't get to watch too much Sunday football. I'm a little tired after our Saturday games, but Jacksonville for sure is definitely surprising me. I did a pick'em league, and I definitely didn't pick them any of these weeks. I think I'm gonna have to change my stance on how they're operating. But I say that's probably my top 3 surprises right now.
Okay, for me, I would say my shock is the Seattle Seahawks. I legitimately thought they were playing for the first or second pick in the draft. And if you had put money on Geno Smith being the most accurate passer in the NFL through the first 4 weeks, you would have made a ton of money in Vegas. I never saw that coming. He's completing passes at over 75%, I believe. He's at the top of the league. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but the question has never been about Geno's accuracy, and I'm willing to give him a mulligan for having to play through the dysfunctional organization that the Jets have been over the last 20 years or so. But I never saw Seattle being competitive, being 2-2 out of the box, and giving everybody everything that they can handle. I'm going to echo the sentiment about the Rams. It's still very early in the season. I have a lot of faith in Sean McVay, but I really have to begin to start questioning when you have Matt Stafford throwing 3 picks in the fourth quarter, and we're only 4 games in. I don't know that he threw a pick in the fourth quarter at all last year. I stand to be corrected on that, but he's really not playing at the level in the fourth quarter that we grew to expect. 2-2 is probably not where a lot of people saw them, and I think that with the Niners emerging with Garoppolo, whether you love him or hate him, I mean, he certainly makes them a competitive team. Seattle being as competitive as they are, and of course, you can never count the Arizona Cardinals out as long as Kyler has a pocket from which to throw. That NFC West is it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a roller coaster all the way through. So the Rams are certainly not going to run away with it this year, but I would have thought they would be. I would have thought they've been 3-1 if not undefeated at this point.
Let me chime in on the Rams for a little bit. The one thing about when you win the Super Bowl, the one question that you have the next year is are the guys going to come back hungry to win another one? And sometimes guys they finally get that ring and they get satisfied, and that seems like what's going on with them. Because in Philly, when we won the Super Bowl, there was a lot of talk about going back and winning another one, but you can see that the guys wasn't as hungry that next year as the year that we won the Super Bowl. And like I said, to win the Super Bowl, you got to have some luck play in somewhere. You got to be a little lucky here or there. And maybe that luck ain't happening for them this year. But at the same time, when I look at that team play now, I don't see that same fire that I saw the Super Bowl year. And they got to find it some kind of way. Now, I'm not going to give up on them because they're a good team. They got good players. And anytime you got Aaron Donald on your D-line, things can pick up and start happening for you. So, and then you got, my boy Stafford. Stafford just don't, for me, I know he's hurt, and it's obvious that you can see it a little bit in his play. But at the same time, I think those guys got enough veterans on that team that they're going to pick it up and they're going to get it done and they're going to get back in the picture. So I'm not going to give up on them, but they got to find that hunger somewhere that they had Super Bowl year. And if they don't find that, it's going to be a long, long year.
No, I would definitely agree with that. Kind of changing gears and talking a little fantasy football. I know that's me and Philip's jam. I'll let you go first because I seem like I always go first every show when they talk about fantasy. Philip, who are some of the names and the guys you have on the waiver wire that you're looking to scoop up if they haven't been scooped up already? Because it's Wednesday, so by now moves should have been made.
At this point, nobody. No, we got some running backs though. Of course, we got some injuries, guys. We got some injuries. I think the number one running back that everybody's going to try to go out and get is going to be Mike Boone up in Denver. So I think he's on everybody's radar. You know what I'm saying? I think everybody's trying to get him. Everybody already got a waiver in for him, hoping that he shows up on their team tomorrow, including myself. I know everybody trying to get him. I think Raheem Mostert. He's getting more carries in Miami at the running back position. And maybe that's because he's been with the coach before and they favor him a little bit more. So you're getting a little bit more goal line touches, everything. So Raheem Mostert is another one that you can keep on your radar. I think Hines from Indy. He probably already gone. He probably on somebody's roster, but if he's out there, grab him, you know what I'm saying? And then Deion Jackson is the other guy from Indy because, of course, like injuries going to pile up, guys. I think with the high ankle sprain or something like that shows up during a week, the backups become more important. So those are the top guys that I have at the running back position that you can go out and grab. There's not like right now, receiver-wise, you just got to go out and get guys that's kind of getting you a little something every week. There's not many receivers out there that you're going to trust. You got guys coming back from injury that some of these guys are going to take a step back. So if you got those guys on your roster, then you got to kind of like a Deutsch or something like that. You got to kind of look at that and say, okay, we got guys coming back soon. We got to start doing something different on your roster. There's not a lot of quarterbacks out there that you're going to trust right now. So quarterback, if you ain't got a good quarterback by now, you got to love. That's why I drafted two. As I told you guys, I was fortunate enough to have, I got Herbert and Josh Allen.
Wow.
And so
if that isn't stacking the deck, I don't know what is.
So when they drafted the running backs were gone. And I was like, you know what? So if I can't get a running back, I'm gonna keep somebody else from winning. So I took Herbert, who's still sitting out there. And then I ended up with Edwards-Helaire, and I ended up with Penny, which has been doing really good. Because the top running backs this year, they've been terrible. They've been awful. So I think it worked out for me. You know what I'm saying? I was able to get some good receivers, good quarterbacks, and then my running backs are doing a decent job, and I'm winning. So, yeah, running backs are the ones you're going to pick. Pick those guys up I just told you. Receivers, too late. Tight end, forget it. Quarterback, just get somebody to get you through a bye week.
Yep.
Defenses, the guys, I don't even know if you need to own a defense this year. They all, like, iffy. So I would just, like, pick the defense that's out there that's going against the worst offense. You'll be okay. And that's how you gotta do it right now.
80, do you happen to be a fantasy player as well, or?
I am in a couple leagues. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really trying to give out my secret stuff. To be honest with you, I know my friends gonna watch this and try to pick up something before I can get to it. So I'm gonna let y'all keep going.
I just gave them all the secrets. They me and him in the league together, so I'm doing pretty good in all my leagues. I only lost one this week, so I'm undefeated in a couple of them, I think.
Undefeated. Let's go on. I want to go on a record real quick and say that DeVaris, your father has tried to take my money since day one. And,
Yeah.
I bet, man.
I try to tell him I don't win. I never win a league that I have to pay for. I never
this
win.
guy has forgotten more about football than I'll ever know, and he's telling me he never wins.
Yeah, I find that very hard to believe.
Larry, check this out. This is the first time I've been able to play fantasy because I'm not coaching. I'm not doing anything with the NFL. I'm not coaching anything like that. So I decided I can get in some teams, some leagues this year and play, So this is the first time I played in a while. So I was just trying to be smart about who I pick and try to do a little research on the guys that I need to go out there, you know what I'm saying? And that's what happened for me. But I hadn't been able to play for a while. I mean, last time I played it's been years, man. It's been a long time. So, I mean, but like I said, I never win cash leagues. So you don't have to worry about that. And I'm still skeptical of my league, even though I'm winning right now. I don't know how it's going to end up. Injuries and stuff happen, man. Yep. So I just gotta stay humble, man, and just try to go week to week and see who I can add that's better than the guy I got.
Yeah, unfortunately, in fantasy football, that's kind of how it is. The injuries always dictate the season. I kind of some of my picks I got this week. I don't think like Philip. You got to have a defense because those can be the points that might take you over the top for a win. So a defense has been putting up some pretty good numbers so far this season for me. I would say go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you're looking for a receiver that can kind of get you anywhere from 8 to maybe 12 points, depending on the matchup, I would go with Corey Davis with the Jets. I think that him and Zach Wilson, have a real good relationship. And I think that Zach looks for him a lot when he's doing pass plays. So I would go with Corey Davis. When it comes to running backs, the Broncos obviously suffered a really big injury, losing one of their key backs for the year. And they just signed Latavius Murray from the Saints from Minnesota, to their team. So Murray is now playing for the Denver Broncos. That's a name I would try to see if I could slide in and pick him up. And in terms of quarterback, Philip and I are aligned with that. You just got to see who's out there, who can get you through a bye week. You're not going to all of a sudden find a stud. If you think that you're going to find Cooper Rush available at this time, you're kidding yourself. He's long gone. So when it comes to quarterback, you're just trying to find somebody that can slide in a spot from week to week. But those are my picks for fantasy for this week. Corey Davis, man. Watch out.
Wide receiver, the only guy I can think of that may be still out there is Woods from Tennessee.
Yeah, he's starting to get healthy again.
He's picking it up. He's picking it up. He came off an injury. He started a little slow, but he's starting to pick his game up. So, guys, that's another guy to check out.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Hey,
I definitely agree with that.
Forrest taking notes over here. I'm still looking now.
You see me?
Call me.
He's about to log off.
You know what I'm saying?
But 80 went to Notre Dame, so I know that he's a smart guy. He knows when to pick up the pen and start taking notes.
Yeah. So
let
me ask you guys this before we get off here. Let's talk a little bit. Who are your MVP favorites right now? First quarter.
I'll go ahead and take the lead on this one. I would say I'm going to go dark horse here for just a second. I think a lot of people were looking for Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Again, the Broncos have been a bit of a disappointment, but I'm going to go Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is able to move the chains in so many different ways, and furthermore, I don't think anybody saw them going 4-0 out of the box. They're clearly the cream of the crop in the NFC East. I realize it's not saying as much as it used to, But nevertheless, I mean, they're going to be there in January, and if they're hovering around 13-4 and they get a home field game or two, you can't rule them out. Jalen Hurts, I really like what he has done. He has completely taken ownership of this Philadelphia offense. He's really become more of a leader off the field. That's right now. That's my guy.
Okay, so I listed 5 guys.
Okay.
And Larry, you'll like this.
Yeah.
So I'm starting at number 5 and come up.
Oh, you got him in order, Phil?
Yeah.
Okay.
5 in order. 5 and come up. My number 5 guy is because he should have won it last year. Is continues to be Cooper Kupp. This guy, he's just doing a lot of good things for that team. The number of catches he had yesterday or last night in that game is ridiculous, man. The dude just found a way to get open.
Yeah, with 14 catches last night.
Yes, man.
On like 18 targets.
It was just every time I turned around, they were throwing him the ball.
Exactly, man. I feel like he should have won it last year. I know Aaron Rodgers won it, but you talking about a receiver to do what he did last year, he should have been the clear winner last year. No doubt in my mind. You know, no receiver's done what he's did. So that's not number 5. My number 4, you know, and they got to pick their game up a little bit as a team, is Lamar Jackson.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson, he looked good, man. You get a guy that can run the way he run and use his legs, and now he's getting more accurate with his passes, and he's throwing that thing to Andrews and those guys. I mean, he's doing a really good job. If they can just continue to win, and he's going to be in the hunt in the end, guys, because what he's doing. I don't know if he's going to get to the level of the years he had before, because he was good every year.
Well, you know, the other thing again is, like we were saying before, he's playing for a contract. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got a boulder on his shoulder. So you better believe he's going to be bringing it each and every game. He wants – it's time for him to get paid.
Man, just put the bank in front of his house.
Yeah.
That's what's about to happen. You just walk in and get what you want.
Driveway.
You hear that, Rashadi?
You know what I'm saying? So my number three, which easily could be my number 2, is Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
I think Patrick Mahomes, man, he just he Houdini out there on the field, man. He throw the ball any kind of way, and he throwing it accurate. Some of the things he do on the field, man, is amazing. I just think that as their season go, you know what I'm saying, if they continue to win and do the things they're doing, it's going to be close in the end with a lot of these guys, you know what I'm saying, a lot of these guys. So Patrick Mahomes is my number 3. My number 2, Josh Allen. Josh Allen right now, but Josh Allen is a stud. He's one of them guys that can run the ball. He can pass it. He's a running back at a quarterback position. That's where he is. And he's just making it happen for that team right now. And, you know, him and Diggs, what they're doing is amazing, you know what I'm saying? So I just think that Josh Allen, they continue to win, he'll be in the hunt. My number 1 guy right now, Larry, you stole him. My number 1 guy is Jalen Hurts, because they're undefeated. And the things he's done early in this season is amazing, dude. This dude can run. He can throw it. He's tough. He made good decisions. I know he got the weapons around him now that he can go do some things, you know what I'm saying? He's trying to throw the ball now. He ain't running as much as he did last year. Yep. He's trying to stay in the pocket. He's trying to throw. He's trying to find the open guys. And with those 2 weapons he got in Smith and Smith and
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown, you want to blank. AJ Brown, those 2 weapons he got there. It's going to be a good season for him, man. I think if they continue to win, I mean, they get to 5-0 and they continue to win. I mean, I don't expect them to go undefeated. Anyway, I think as you win, it gets tougher because everybody gunning for you. Everybody trying to come after you, trying to get that first win against you. And every team going to be flying for them right now or gunning for them right now. But at the same time, if Jalen Hurts finishes this season doing the things he's doing right now, he's going to be the clear MVP winner. You know, because it's his second year, really. You know, think about it. It's his second year, and he's doing some amazing things out there.
Yeah, I don't think he has the gun that Mahomes does, or that Josh Allen. I'm sorry, it was right on the tip of my tongue. I mean, those guys have fire hoses, but Jalen is unbelievably accurate with the ball. And again, like you said, in terms of ball placement, I mean, it's always right here where a receiver can just catch it in stride. And again, being able to move the chains with his legs, he's just doing some incredible things. Davaris, who you got?
Yeah. For me, I'm a firm believer that you have to go with the leader of the best team in the league right now. So Jalen Hurts is definitely number one for me, but close behind him, I would probably go with Pat Mahomes just because of the off the eye test and just watching him every game, and he makes it look easy. It's like very Steph Curry-esque. He does it in his own way, and it's sometimes it's things that you've never seen before, and it's kind of magical in that way. But that would be my top two. If not Jalen Hurts right now, I definitely think Pat Mahomes, and then maybe a close second would be Josh Allen for sure.
I like that. I like the Patrick Mahomes call because who thought he would do what he's doing right now without Cheetah?
Exactly.
And plus, last year he struggled a little bit with Cheetah. So I just think that, you got to keep him in the fold, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, if you win, you got to pick that guy. Just like the Heisman Trophy, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. The guy with the winning team, the quarterback with the winning team got a great chance to win the Heisman. It ain't that he the best player in the nation. They just won.
Right.
Oh, it's on me?
It is on you, and then we're going to go to break, and then we're going to close out with our mailbag, and we've got some pretty interesting questions that have come in.
Well, I went a little different route. I wanted to shake things up a little bit, at least with one of my picks. So for number 5, I went with Micah Parsons. I think that guy is an offensive coordinator wrecker. Whatever your game plan is, he don't give a damn. He's going to do whatever he's got to do to wreck your offensive game plan. So I got him at 5. Cooper Kupp at number 4 for me. For number 3, I went with Pat Mahomes. My number 2 pick was Josh Allen. And then just like everybody else, man, with number 1, I have to go with Jalen Hurts. I just think that all the questions about, is this guy a true QB1? He's got to work on this. He's got to work on that. I know it's a small sample size, but for me, all those questions have been answered. I mean, like Philip alluded to, the whole first read not there, backyard football mentality is kind of gone. He's sitting in the pocket, making plays from the pocket, letting guys get open, throwing guys to open spots so they can get the ball and get some yards after the catch. I think if you're an Eagles fan, you have to be super, super excited with what you've seen so far as his development, his improvement, and his leadership too. I mean, you can tell clear cut he is the leader of that team. And like we've talked about, with those 2 guys he has on the outside and a stable of running backs they got, I just think that he's the clear-cut favorite right now as far as MVP for the first quarter of the season. And like I said, Parsons, man, he is an offensive game plan wrecker. I know defensive guys don't get a lot of love when it comes to the MVP vote, but for me, he's my number 5.
Joe, I think one guy going to have a problem with your number 5. One guy going to have a problem with your number 5. His name is Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa is playing some good football right now.
Yeah, he is.
You pretty much put them as a tie.
True.
Right there, because, man, he's been out there just causing havoc on offenses, man. So we'll see how I end up, man. I know defensive guys never win, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, those 2 guys should get some consideration.
Well, we're going to go pay some bills right now. And when we come back again, we're going to be talking about, we're going to open up the mailbag a little bit. I've got some pretty interesting questions. I don't know who DeAndre is, but DeAndre, yes, we got your question again. And we're looking forward to answering that, as well as a few other things that have come in. Be around the bend with us. We're going to go pay some bills. You're watching The Perspective here on Nuts and Bolts Sports.
In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: build the cooler we use every day if it existed. One that was built for the serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than for mass discount retailers. One that could take the abuse we knew we'd put it through, out in the field and on the water. One that simply wouldn't break. We decided early on that production innovation would come from necessity and first-hand experience, not from market research and data analysis. Today, Yeti products perform when it matters most. Whether that be an excursion into the remote Alaskan wilderness, chasing redfish on the Gulf Coast, or just getting together with friends in the backyard, we make gear that helps you stay out longer, travel farther, and live harder. # built for the wild.
Okay. Well, again, we're coming around the bend here, and it is mailbag time. So we're going to answer all of your tweets, your emails, and texts. And we're going to start with the first one. Once again, I'm going to assume that DeAndre, you keep referring to him as big man, so I'm going to assume this is for Philip. Also, about the Colts. But I'm going to remind you, sir, Joe is 6'5", okay? So I know that I'm eliminated from the equation, but you got two guys on this show that are each 6'4", 6'5", or bigger. So DeAndre wants to know, big man, you coached with him in Philadelphia. Were you surprised at the warm reception Doug Peterson got in Philadelphia?
Not at all. Not at all. Man, he won the first Super Bowl in their history. And you know how many years it's been, man? And finally, he got that old saying that no rings. Now Philly got a ring, and I was a part of that. So I'm happy for Doug. I'm glad they gave him a good reception coming in. I knew they would, because Philly, their fans can be tough now. They'll boo you. They booed Santa Claus, Beyonce, all of them. So
Not Beyonce.
Everybody was worried about Doug coming back and whether they boo or not. I was not worried about that one bit. These fans love Doug, a coach that brings you your first Super Bowl. To get that chip off your shoulder, you gotta love that guy forever. You know what I'm saying? Now, all the coaches, all the players that was on that team, you gotta love us forever. So I mean, I wasn't worried at all.
Gotcha. Okay, we got another one here from Xavier. Wants to know, Trey Lance, is it too early to call him a bust?
Way too early.
Oh yeah, come on.
Way too early, man. He's a young player in his second year, I guess, and I think he had an injury. He never even got a chance to show what he could do or get on. And then his first game was in a rainstorm. In the rain. A lot of guys can't play in that. As you can see, Buffalo was in the rain, and also Eagles, they was in the rain. The rain do affect play on the field, no matter how you look, especially the first game of the season where you don't win all summer. It's been dry. You've been in the sunshine, and all of a sudden you come in and now you're in the rain. So it's way too early to say that he's a bust. Give him a chance. Give him a chance to get healthy, get back, and see what happens. Sometimes an injury like this can propel a guy to be great, and I hope that happens for Trey Lance.
Now I have a question as well that came in from the mailbag. Give me a second to pull it up. And this question comes from Steve Rogers. And he wanted to know, do we all feel the concussion protocol needs to be updated? Why it seems that the protocol is different based on the position, and there's just not a flat concussion protocol that everybody follows. If you even present symptoms that you have a concussion in a game, you should be done for that game, kind of like Philip said earlier, and also have to pass protocols throughout the week before you can play again. So do we think the concussion protocol needs to be updated? Yes or no? Is Steve's question. And we want to thank Steve for the question.
Well, the NFL is doing that now. I mean, they do have to pass protocol to get back on the field. The only reason Tua came back because he probably passed some of the testing that they did early in the season. Before the season started, what they do is give you a whole bunch of questions that you have to answer. They go through a lot of different things that you will answer and then see if you can remember all that stuff when you get concussed. So they go through a protocol and everything. The NFL's done a good job with the concussion and how they handle these concussions now, as opposed to years way back when I played. But they're doing a good job, man, and the game is a lot safer now, like I said earlier. But yes, I would definitely love to see them have guys who, when you can see that something's wrong, they fall down on the ground or they woozy or they walking sideways and those kind of things. I would love to see them take those guys out the game, not to return, and also make it mandatory. I don't care if you pass whatever test you want to pass during the week. As the week go by, it's easier to pass the test. So I'd make it mandatory that they miss the next game of the season. So the next week you're going to miss because we got to make sure that you're good. And that's the only way they're going to be able to do it. That's the only way you can upgrade, because they're doing a lot. Listen, they've done a whole lot, but you got to upgrade it some kind of way, and that's the only way you're going to be able to do it.
Tavares?
I agree with some of it. I think that what needs to happen is you have to evaluate the symptoms, and depending on, I think you have to specify what symptoms you're looking for, and then you can kind of proceed from there. If the guy's stumbling, and he obviously, he's not there. He's not, his equilibrium is all out of whack. So I think that if that's a situation like that happens, then you gotta, take everything into consideration, and then you'll probably, come up with that that deeming of a concussion or not. But through the week, I think that it has to be just more regular tests. I know nowadays they have a bunch of different tests. You got the test on the computers. You got the different the memorization tests and just the questions that they ask you, and then you have the person-to-person test with your trainer. So I think that every league has come a long way as far as concussions are concerned. The only part about what you said, that what I don't agree with, is that you have to sit the next week, like making it mandatory that you have to sit the next week, because in my knowledge, everyone is different. And if you can shake back, then that is up to you. But it should be recommended for sure that you take at least 1 week, because you don't want to get to a place where you're playing in the playoffs, you win a wild card game, you get a concussion, then you can't come back for that next week. And it's those situations I feel like would cause a lot of trouble for teams down the road. But it should definitely be recommended for sure that you at least minimum take 1 week for sure.
When I say mandatory, I'm talking about the guys who are out cold on the field, or guys who are that walk and just fall down, and something's wrong. Now, for the guys that's just a little dizzy, to get dinged, they see those little stars I was talking about earlier, fine, let them pass the test and try to get them back out there. They're okay. But when it's visible that a guy is suffering for something concussion-wise, that's what I'm talking about for is mandatory. I mean, into a situation, a guy is knocked out unconscious on the field, that situation, just make sure they're healthy before they come back. And I think sometimes it takes like a week or two, maybe 2 weeks, to get those guys back to full health.
We have time for one more. I will squeeze this in. Kevin, okay. Kevin wants to know, Mike McDaniel, is he the next genius to come from the Redskins? Well, I guess it would be the Commanders now, but the Redskin tree. This is a very sore subject for me. I don't even want to jump in on this one. Philip, I'll get you going with this.
What's the question?
Is Mike McDaniel the next genius to come from the Washington tree?
Yes. I guess so. I don't know if you could label anybody a genius. He's just a good football coach, that get the attention of his players and get them to play hard. You know what I'm saying? That's the every coach, that's their goal, to go out and get guys to play at the level they should play at and play well. So yeah, he come from that tree, and who else is from that tree? I hope they're gone. I hope they're all gone now, because we need to give other people some opportunities now. Eric Bieniemy should get an opportunity. You need to get in there, and we got some other coaches that need opportunities, man. And so my thing is, that's been a great tree. And think about all those guys came from Washington. They was right there on the staff. Sad. And they all head coaches of their own teams now, and they all having success. Imagine keeping at least some of that in place for a few extra years, and what that team will look like now.
Natives here. Philip, I really got to sit this question out. So
yeah, sit it out, because you Burgundy. What I'm saying. I played for the team. I should be all in on this, but I do realize that guys move around, coaches move around, teams try to make the right decisions. GMs try to make the right decision for the team. Owners try to make the right decisions. But at the same time, you're going to lose some good ones. But at the same time, these guys were right there on the staff, and they had the opportunity to choose one of them. Just choose one. Just one of them. And you might be in a whole better situation right now. But not to say that Rivera can't get it done. I just think they got to make some changes here or there to make it better for the team.
We can't get right.
You say I can't get right.
We can't get right.
Here's the thing about the team. When I watch them, it's something's not right. So it seems like the defense, man, it's just something ain't right about it. Say like these guys play hard, but they're always out of position. Like the D line, I watched them a lot. They playing a lot more physical the last few weeks than before, and they play hard, but they always like out of position. They're always out of their gap or doing something they shouldn't do. Everybody's trying too hard. Everybody on defense trying too hard. Guys, just do your part and let your part be enough, and trust everybody else, man. You ain't in this thing by yourself. You ain't out there playing the game by yourself. You got 10 other guys that count on you to do your job, and you got to count on them to do their job. So just play together, man. Play smart, and then good things will happen. You guys can turn the season around if y'all just get together and start watching more film. And I like for my guys to know what's coming for the ball snap. That's how I like for my guys to know what's coming for the ball snap. We're going to have success. That's what we got to do.
That CD Lamb touchdown was a joke. That was like 7-on-7 shorts and T-shirts. And the DB was thinking about what flavor Gatorade he wanted to get when he got to the sideline. That was sad.
Yeah, I mean they gotta do something there. Rivera's been to the Super Bowl, so I just gotta think that they're gonna make some changes somewhere, man. And a lot of time, whether it's players or coaches, you got to make some changes for the better of the team. And I just think that if they do that, then they'll have a solid team and they can go and win some games. Everybody talk about Carson Wentz not being the quarterback. Man, you saw that Philly game. This dude couldn't even plant. He couldn't even plant his back leg and he was getting hit. You know what I'm saying? So there's no consistency in the offensive line. You know what I'm saying? One week they play solid, they play okay. Then the next week they come out and then Philly just run through them and get 6 sacks in the first quarter. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. They get 8 sacks overall. So they kind of like that remind me of like the Jets back in we played them. We had 10 sacks against the Jets. They back in the Jets days when the Jets O-line was bad. They got to fix it, man. It takes each individual to fix that. You can't count. I mean, a lot of times the coaches only can give you what you need to do. They can only give you what you need to do. Now they need to design the right stuff. They need to call the right stuff. They need to put you in good situations. But sometimes it's the players, man. It's you. You got to have the heart to go out there and fight. No matter what the coach calls, we're going to make this work. We're going to make it work. And that's what you got to do. Some of you guys ain't doing that. Y'all worried about what the coach called. Oh, he called that. He called that. Man, I don't want to run that. Man, run the play and do it the best of your ability. And then good things going to happen. Oh, hey, let me say this to the Toronto Argonauts, my guys out there. Guys, I had the pleasure of going in there, and I went down there like 4 weeks ago. Had a chance to talk to the team. The head coach asked me to come speak to the team. I spoke to the team, and I just kind of covered some things they needed to know. Guys, I know y'all had a tough one this last week, guys. It don't stop. Hey, guys, it's time to, let's recommit. Let's recommit ourselves to doing some good things, guys. Y'all got the rest of the season. Y'all owe this team this week. Y'all owe this team. BC beat y'all like y'all stole something. We owe this team. So let's go out and get this win, guys. Stay together, focus together. Hey, guys, y'all know who you're playing for. Remember, I told you, pick that person that you're going to dedicate the rest of the season to. Hey, don't forget that person. Go out and play your butt off. I hope everyone you guys see this and know that I'm with you guys. And I'll be up there in a few weeks. And hopefully I can talk to you guys and be on the sideline with you guys. But at the same time, guys, keep fighting. Take it one play at a time. Trust each other and do the things that you need to do. And then, like I say, it's gonna work out. I mean, y'all, and the good thing about it, I forgot to announce this. They already clinched the playoff berth in the East. Y'all clinched already. Now let's get that bye. Let's let the West beat themselves up. And then let's get to that Grey Cup and let's go win that thing. But y'all got to do it together, man. Hey, listen, y'all a good team. Be physical. Be physical. Play with your hands. Do the things you're necessary, and you're going to be okay.
Well,
I'm gonna make sure to play that in the meeting tomorrow.
Go get them, guys. Hey, commit, guys. Hey, 4 seconds of hell. Give them 4 seconds of hell. Let's go get it.
We certainly ran much longer than we had initially planned today. And Davaris, I want to thank you so much for your time,
absolutely.
your insight. I really being able to give us a different look, a different perspective, if you will, on what the concussion protocol looks like in today's world. Before we do get out of here, I want to take a quick second to acknowledge a dear friend of the Nuts and Bolts sports community, Buddy Harrison, who was a boxing trainer in Prince George's County and lived in D.C., was senselessly shot and killed this past weekend. And he was a dear friend of Nuts and Bolts as a whole. He gave us access to his gym to interview his fighters. He was always very accommodating to us. He was one of the first stories that we did as an organization. It's a terrible loss to the DC community. He meant so much to so many people. He was able to really turn his life around, and he gave a lot to the homeless. He would work with kids almost for nothing just to keep them off the streets. Just a tragedy. My heart goes out to my hometown of Washington, D.C. The world was really, really a better place when Buddy Harrison was walking the face of the earth. So my most sincere condolences to his family, his friends, everybody who loved him. And we just want to thank you, Buddy, for everything that you did for Nuts and Bolts Sports from the beginning.
Amen to that, for sure.
Guys, hey, like I say, guys, no, DeVar, you might be a regular, man. I mean, might need to get you on here more.